Hi guys, this is Kimberly with Milling About. I just kind of wanted to talk today about how certain things in your RV can certain problems can create kind of a trickle down effect and making sure that a lot of your RV things are maintained. So first of all, last Wednesday I think it was, we had called Grand Design for a warranty issue. The 380 FLs are pretty notorious for having an issue of the front bathroom and the kitchen not draining properly. A lot of the people that have had it fixed have talked about how they weren't routed at a steep enough angle to be able to drain that. You'd have to lift up your front end to get everything to drain down. So we assumed that that was the problem that we were having, so we called Grand Design. Hi Sean, if you're watching. They were great. They got us a case number, got us a mobile tech right away. Because we are full-timers, it's really hard to take this into a dealership and have it sit there for a long time. So they approved for a mobile tech. So on Thursday we had a mobile tech come out. Actually I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday that the mobile tech came out. And he dropped the underbelly, took a look under there. There was a little bit of water in there because we did have a little bit of an overflow, so he was able to drop that down and take that out. Now I'm not going to tell you which mobile tech it was because I don't want to give a good review to them and I don't want to give a bad review to them either. There were a couple of issues that I kind of was like, not real. I don't know if I would recommend them if this was the case, but they did do a good job at what they did. So they dropped the underbelly, they took a look, and it ended up being not a warranty issue, ended up being a clog that was caused by us having our valves open. So this is a good thing to keep in mind, that even if you have composting toilets, keep your valves closed. We didn't have our valves open as far as going all the way out. We were using the tanks as one big gray tank flowing into the next one. So it sounds like we've got 4 tanks that just flow into each other. So what ended up happening is having that valve open, it was causing the water would go down, but the food particles would get stuck on the lip of the gate, just causing not a poo pyramid, but a food pyramid, and not the good kind. So we ended up with that, and he said that it was kind of like a big, almost like a bread consistency. So it's really important also, even if you think you're not putting food down there, if you're rinsing your dishes, it's still putting food down there. So you want to make sure that you're wiping your plates off or using paper plates or something like that, so that the food particles are not actually going down there. But what he did say is that when you keep your gates closed, then when you open it up and it's got water in there, it creates kind of a vortex and picks up that any food particles that are in there and sucks that down as well, instead of keeping the water going down, trickling down and catching that food. So we learned that. One of the things that he wanted to do, he did get it cleared out by doing a backflow. He brought a backflow device in that you could hook your hose into and shoot water up in there to get the particles out of there. The one thing that he did want to do was use my water hose, my drinking water hose, to be able to flush that out. And the backflow that he brought did not look pretty. It looked like it had been used on other black tanks and all of that, and I did not want my drinking hose being used for that, so I told him no. And he assured me that it was fine, that nothing would come back on it, but I didn't want that anywhere near that backflow device. So I was able to pull out a car washing hose for him, and we used that instead. So he did get that all cleared up. He got everything screwed back in there, and as he was putting on the skirting, I noticed that our heated water hose temperature gauge was not sticking out where it would actually catch the cold air. So I kind of pointed that out, and he gave it a good yank on it, and I can't prove that this next issue was because he yanked on it, but I have a strong feeling it was, and that's one of the reasons I'm not giving them a good or a bad review, because I can't prove anything. So the next issue that we ended up having is on Wednesday of this week, my husband came home, Mike came home, and he noticed that there was a big lake of water under our RV. So his first thought was that one of the tanks had burst or something. So he kind of followed it, trying to figure out where it was coming from, turned on water inside, and we had no pressure. So he went outside, opened the water room, and the hose itself had disconnected, not from the spigot itself, but where it had been press fit into the hose had come apart. So that's why I'm assuming that yanking on that kind of pulled those apart just enough so that the pressure kind of built up a little bit and then pulled them apart. So it was spraying everywhere. He got the water turned off, waited for me to come home, and we got everything cleaned up. Then he turned the water back on, everything looked okay, and then it started spraying again. So we turned the water off, left it off, aren't going to deal with that. Ordered a new hose, and I am going to check to see if Camco does have kind of a warranty on their hoses, to see if there is something that they could have done about it. So everything seemed fine, and then we're sitting here, and the lights would get dimmer. They kind of flickered a little bit at first, so we didn't think much of it. And then our refrigerator started beeping, and it was giving a DC low error to it. Quickly looked up online what was going on with that. Learned that if the battery is low, it can cause that. But we figured that it's going to switch over to the propane. It'll be fine. So then the heat turned off, our propane heat. It was 15 degrees at the time. And so our propane heat turned off, wouldn't turn back on. And then slowly our lights continued to die. We are plugged into a power pole. So our space heaters, our fireplace, our anything that was plugged in or ran off of the power pole worked just fine. So we kind of figured out, we did some troubleshooting, and we figured out that most likely the converter had gotten some water into it. The converter is what actually charges your battery. So I went, that night we had to run off of our space heaters to keep everything warm. It did keep us warm, so we did have heat. Thankfully we had the space heaters that my husband insisted on, so that's good. Then we ended up, at 2 o'clock in the morning, the carbon monoxide detector started going off. Not the incessant beeping that it would be like get out of your house right now, but that slow beep of my battery is dying. And so the carbon monoxide detector is hooked up to the battery. So the battery still had enough charge in it when we went to bed that the carbon monoxide detector was not beeping. So at 2 o'clock in the morning we had to deal with the beeping until it finally died. So the next morning, Thursday morning, today is Friday, so Thursday morning I went to Walmart and bought a tester to make sure that we could test to see if it was the converter. And I also ended up buying a external charger that you can plug into a plug and hook up to your battery to charge. I would recommend any RVer have this, because if your converter does go out and it is cold like it was, if we didn't have those space heaters, we would not have been able to heat our RV. So I strongly suggest that people get some kind of a charger, like the car chargers that you hook up to your battery if you needed to do a jump or something. We've had that running. I wouldn't advise just leaving it here, but we've had it hooked up to the battery. As soon as I hooked it up to the battery, everything started working. So that's how we kind of know that the converter is the issue. So I ended up going over to Lazy Days to buy a new converter. They didn't have the exact one that I needed, but they did say that we could go with a different one. The one they pulled off their shelf was about $350. They had another one that they said was too strong for us, so we didn't want that one. So I did ask her, I took a picture of the converter model number so that I would have that there. They did say that they could order it and it would be there the next day. again, it was about $350. So I ended up looking online, and Walmart had the exact same one for $150. Wouldn't be here until Monday, so we'd still be running off of that charger, and I was kind of iffy about that. Looked on Amazon, and it turned out that they had the same one for $150 as well, and it was able to be delivered today as well. So we were able to get it, and hey look, I get to do an unboxing. So I am going to actually install this. Mike was able to take the wall off from where the converter is stored. So then we are able to put in our new converter. Make sure this is the right one here. Let's see if I can get it out of here. Okay, there we go. So this is the 9800 series, and it is the 9855 55 amp, and that is exactly what was on our label on our converter. So let's see. We're going to open this up here. So it's the exact same one, just because I didn't want to deal with upgrading it or doing any of that stuff. I just want to be able to plug and play and get this working. So I called Grand Design back, talked to them some about it. They explained, yeah, this wouldn't be covered under warranty or anything like that because it was damaged by the water. And I understood that. That's fine. The big thing is, let's see here. We got our manual, we've got our converter, and it's already got the fuses in there. So the fuses were absolutely fine in our original converter. So we can actually take those out and there we go. So everything just clicked off. We're disconnecting that, and then we're going to go from there. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I don't know if this actually has any kind of bearing on anything, but we are going to turn off and unplug our charger that's charging our battery as well. So here's the charger that we've been using back here. So has gotten a little bit wet in here, but this has been using pretty well. So here's our charger. So it automatically turned off because we turned the battery disconnect off. I am going to unplug this and turn this off so that we don't have any other issues though. And then we're going to go from there. Okay, so we disconnected the battery charger, got it all set. As soon as we had the disconnect of the battery, the charger went up to 100%, so everything that we were using inside was kind of using that information. Okay, as you can see, it's quite snowy out here. We're going to come over here and we're going to turn off our power completely because I don't want anything being charged. So everything inside is now off, so I need to work kind of quickly because it's cold. And we're going to come back over here. Okay. So now we're going to work our way in here. It's still warm in here, so I'm actually going to come in here. Oh, great. Battery's dying too. Okay, so the ring light on my camera is actually giving good amount of light in here, so may not even need the headlamp. So there's our water heater, kind of all of our water stuff. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to come over here, and my converter is down in that mess there. So this is going to be a fun project. I got to see if I can actually move this wall a little bit, see if I can get back there a little bit better. So let me go ahead and take this off. Okay. Alright, so if you look down in there, there's our converter.
going to need to use Allen wrenches to take those off. I'm going to unplug this thing and we're going to go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it because my battery is dying on my camera, and then I'll come back and show you the finished product or the in-between of getting it out of here and yeah, getting it back in. So this is going to be a fun project. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I was actually able to see really well with my ring light on here, so I'm going to try this. I need actually better Allen wrenches. The Allen wrenches that I have right now are Mike's bike tools. Had to take one of them apart to be able to get in here. I have a wall in my way right here that I can't actually get moved because it's got the vacuum attached to it, so that's one of my hindrances here. I have it unplugged now. The battery is disconnected completely, so these wires are not live. Those wires aren't going to be producing any backwards flow or anything else, so I have to get in here and try to get these Allen bolts undone. Let's see if I can get them loose. They might be a little bit extra tight, so if I can get them loose with this tool, it might have actually been better if this was stabilized. Mike unscrewed from the ground so that I'd be able to take it right out, but it's moving around on me, so alright, I'm gonna take my camera and move it so that I can try to get in here a little bit better. Okay, so we were able to get the inverter out, or the converter out, but we also have the ground wire on the back side here. So if you can kind of see that back there, the ground wire is attached through, let's see if I can turn this a little bit, through a screw on the side. So it's a through and through. So it's connected two different places. We've got one going up inside of the fuse box back there, and then the other side of it is screwed kind of back there. So I'm going to need to get up in there and get that unscrewed so that I can feed it through the hole so that we can go from there. Okay, next step. Okay, we finally got the converter out. It was a lot of struggling with the screw that held on the ground wire. I was finally able to get that off, and one of the big things that you need to know about these is that they are Allen bolts in here, and trying to get a screwdriver, a drill into these things is not very easy, so I had to do these by hand, and I think I might have actually broken my tools, so I actually need some real Allen wrenches that are longer that I can get down in there, because you've got this in the way right here. So we've got everything out. I'm going to be able to pull all of that stuff out. Had to go back and forth to grab tools, so it's a good idea to make sure that you've got all your tools in here so you don't have to keep going back and forth. So that's this area in here was where it was. We're going to get the new one in there, and hopefully everything will work properly from here on out. Okay, so that converter is out. The new one is in. Again, I struggled with getting the grounding wire all screwed in, but once we got it in, it's in. Everything's plugged in. Now, here's hoping that that was the problem. And we'll see what happens tonight if our battery dies again. So we'll let you know what happens. Okay, sounds like everything is working. The last thing to do is put the hose on. Where it actually separated was right in here. This piece pulled out of here and was spraying directly out of here. So I'm going to get this hose replaced and then see how everything's working from there. Okay, so we got everything done. We got the converter in. I got the hose on. So it's starting to snow a lot harder now, and I'm exhausted from trying to bend myself in half, trying to get to different screws and stuff. I think what we're going to end up doing is going in to the understorage and rewiring some of the stuff. Later on when it's warmer outside, we're going to kind of
clean up the wires a little bit and try to get them parsed out where they need to go instead of being kind of all jumbled up in there. I think ours is a little bit cleaner than some people's, but it still was really difficult to get in there trying to get to things. If we can kind of reroute the wires a little bit, it might make it a little bit easier to get to things next time. So yeah, so a lot of things can lead from one thing to another. We've got it all fixed. It looks like the battery's holding charge, so it does look like it was the converter. I'm kind of a take it apart kind of person, so I'm probably going to take apart that old converter and kind of see if I can see what was wrong with it. Most likely it was the water that got in there. So, okay, well, if you have questions, just ask them in the comments. If you're looking to see some of our other videos, you can click on those, and if you like our videos, go ahead and subscribe to them. Thanks.